just celebrating taking time off, celebrating
That's
mental
correct.
health and physical health and getting out.
I mean, today is Simcoe Day, so it's supposed to be in celebration of some guy who's like way older than me even, and I don't really know much about. So yeah, I just enjoy the day off.
All right, last question before we get started. BJ, is that a virtual background or is that a real background?
That's the real background. I'm out here feeding the goats and the horses while I listen to the Monday morning call.
Wow, way to get the week kicked off.
So I'm going to mute it now so I can keep walking and feeding, or you'll start hearing goats and horses yelling a lot.
Oh, it's good to see you, and tell them all that we said hello.
All right. Good to see you.
Let's see. Let's pick on one more person. Andrea, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Bobby. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm living my best life, hanging out with 50 of my favorite people so far, and I'm sure we'll have more joining very soon. But since it is 8:01 Pacific Standard Time, good morning, everyone. My name is Bobby Mann. I'm the Maddie's Human Animal Support Services Pilot Director. So excited to be hanging out with you on a Monday morning. Really great presentations coming up today. We are going to be talking to an amazing organization that is solely focused on supporting pets of the unhoused. And we're also going to be unpacking a lot of information about self-supported rehoming later on. But no better way to get it kicked off than kicking it over to Mary Smith for a little bit of Monday motivation.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to see you all. I can't tell you what this does to just, I'd say my heart and my soul to keep me connected. Here we are starting the 18th COVID month, and it feels like new and different and more of the same. And it's just kind of nerve-wracking. I want to thank Dr. Crawford. I don't think she's on this call, but last week she gave us some really great information about the Delta variant. So I felt like with all the news that's being taken up talking about that we have a pretty solid base of factoids to move us forward. Now, I know many of you are facing some pretty dire situations, not having enough staff to meet all of the jobs that you have, and it's a real struggle, and you're feeling probably a bit overwhelmed and wondering, what the fuck am I supposed to do today? So I haven't a clue, but I can tell you this: whatever the solution is to the problem that you're facing, it's going to be different from the problem that you're facing. Problems and solutions don't look the same. They look different. And maybe it's time for us to move beyond our comfort zone and start to do some really deep listening and significant outreach to communities we wouldn't otherwise be engaged with, because perhaps those folks are going to have the solutions for us. We've seen time and again when we've had problems that the solution has actually come from the public in the community in ways that we had never dreamed possible. And I think this is also one of those times when, if we have a problem, if we tell people about it, and if we ask for help, we will get the help that we need. It may not be in the form that we thought, but it may very well be the exact thing that we need. So I hope everyone has a wonderful week. I'm excited about the presentations today. Bobby, I'm turning it back to you.
Thanks, Mary Smith. You're right. I mean, times are getting a little crazy. I know the world is opening back up. The world is closing up. We can't find the right amount of staff, but I will tell you the one thing that has been consistent for me through COVID has been this community. So when I wake up on Monday mornings, regardless of what the rest of the week is going to look like, I know I can rely on a lot of happy faces to make sure that I'm getting my week kicked off the right way. So that is my gratitude to all of you. So I'd love to open it up for national updates. I was asked by my good friend Bethany from Best Friends to share, as Mary was talking about staffing, or staffing survey that they just released that they're hoping folks would fill out. So I will put that in the chat, and then we will open it up for any other national updates or organization updates. If you have something super exciting from your local organization, you hired a new staff member, you have a win you want to share, you're more than welcome to speak up now.
Hi, this is Krista with the Humane Society of the United States, and I just wanted to mention that Animal Care Expo will be in person in Orlando next April, and we are accepting session submission proposals. If you're interested, we're accepting them through August 13th, and I will put a link in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks, Krista.
Hey all, Kathy from Canada here. The call for abstracts for Humane Canada's Summit 2022 is open as well, and it will be open until September 10th, and I'll drop the link in the chat shortly. We're looking at a conference that is going to span the majority of the month of May in various forms. It's going to be a hybrid event, so there will be a lot of online stuff, but it's broken up to try and give folks an opportunity to join here and there as they want to. And then there will be, we hope, fingers crossed, an in-person piece as well. So looking forward to hearing from you all with your abstracts.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, and my just last quick pitch is going to be a reminder about Maddie's Pet Forum. We hope that y'all can follow the conversation after today. I had a really great talk with Charlotte from the Maddie's team, and you know, she reminded me, Bobby, the folks that are on these Monday calls are truly the leaders in our space. And if we really want to get our community engaged and focusing on the forum, we all have to really step up ourselves. So I myself, starting today, am committing to posting at least 2 posts a day. So my ask for all of you is to hold me accountable. If you don't see me up on the forum posting and engaging, please make sure you call me out. And I'm going to ask all of you as well. If you can at least post 1 time a week, it would make my heart really happy. I think a great place to start would be on the form link for today's meeting. If you can just write anything you want in there, maybe some inspiration for your peers, maybe a shout out to one of our speakers, it would really make my heart happy. So that's going to be my ask for all of you for today. But I know what we're here for, and that's for the amazing presentations. So Genevieve Frederick, the founder of Feeding Pets to the Homeless, is here to talk about her amazing organization that she founded and the work that they're doing today. So I'm going to toss it right over to you.
Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm going to see if I can get this. I'm trying to share and worked before. Are you seeing it now? No. Okay, let's. Oh man, we had this all figured out a while ago.
Yeah, but the show's never fun unless there's some real action. So this is good suspense for us. So
It's the green button.
yeah, I'm going to try that again. Okay, let's go here. And maybe that's not it. No. You've got it now?
yeah, it's getting there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, here we go. Thank you everyone for taking a few minutes out of your Monday morning to listen to my spiel. We were the first and the only organization at one time that were feeding and providing emergency care for pets of the homeless. My story of how I started this, and this is always a question I get, it's on our website, it's on our annual report. It was just something that happened to me at random in New York City, and I brought this home and I knew I could do something to help these animals that were owned by the homeless. I'm going to let you know that my stats tell me that we're looking at 61% of homeless that are calling us for emergency veterinary care are homeless women, which is quite frightening to me. Also, the fact that a lot of the people that we're helping that are homeless are also elderly people that have no longer able to afford their apartments or their house mortgage or the taxes that go with it. So we're seeing more and more of that kind of homelessness. And we all know that the evictions that start today are going to affect each and every one of our organizations, whether people give up their animals to the shelters or whether they decide to stay on the streets or live in their cars with their pets because they won't give them up. We believe that up to 25% of the homeless have a pet. The majority of shelters don't allow pets. So far this year, we've taken 5,000 phone calls from people wanting to know, where can I get pet food? Where can I get low cost or free veterinary care? And where is a shelter that is going to allow my pet? So with that in mind, you can see this is some of our stats of what we have done since 2018. It's an expensive organization because we pay for veterinary care at time of service. We only asked for a 20% to 25% discount from our hospitals that work with us. We have over 1,120 hospitals networking with us across the country. This is pretty typical of the situation that we see. This was a illegal immigrant that was living in this tent along the railroad tracks in San Jose, California. His dog was really ill, had pneumonia. There was all kinds of things wrong. You can see that there's a little bicycle there. That was his only transportation. So to get this large dog to the vet, the dog had to walk. And this wasn't the best way to treat this animal. But the police came by, told him he had to tear down all of everything he had there and leave, or they were going to put him in jail. We never found out what happened to this poor dog or to this gentleman. These cases that we get, most of the time they are dog fights, dogs being hit by a car, parvo because they've never been vaccinated. There are all kinds of horrible, horrible situations where dogs have been stabbed, been shot, and people call us in desperation. We work with a lot of social workers. We also work with the VA in a program called HUD-VASH, where they're getting chronically homeless off the streets and into housing, and we are going to treat those animals, whether it's just to get the vaccination so that they can get into that HUD apartment or house, whatever that situation is. These veterans need to be able to live independently. They must be working with a social worker to get them into whatever services they need, whether it's addiction, mental illness, or physical disabilities. These people are helping. So this was a pilot program that we started, and we're going to continue to work with them. This is a business card that we hand out to social workers, police officers, so that they know how to get a hold of us if one of their clients on the streets needs our help. And so, you know, if any of you would like some of these cards to be able to hand out, just reach out to me. My email and our website is right there. So please feel free. We'll be happy to do that. We verify all homeless calls that come in asking for emergency care. And this is for illness or for injuries. We sponsor wellness clinics across the country. We've had something like 54 of them across the country. We've spent $112,000 on wellness clinics. These three doctors that were in a local wellness clinic in my little town are also on my board of directors. So we will sponsor wellness clinics, so we will pay for the hard costs. We expect the staff and the veterinarians and their staff to donate their time. We just are there to help. If there is a problem, please reach out to us. If you know of anyone that wants to turn in their pet because it's injured or ill and these people are homeless, have them reach out to us. We will help them so that they don't have to relinquish their pet. Here's my information and how you can get a hold of me. Please feel free to do that. I knew I didn't have a whole lot of time, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of who we are, what we do, and how we can help your clients. So I'm going to open it up for questions.
Hi there, my name is Diane and I work with Pet Health. I'm also on the data working group with Haas. And I wanted to know what kind of a database you might be using to track your data. It's an ongoing question we have about are you using something that is more case management style? Are you using something more customized? So just curious how you're tracking your data.
We actually have a custom access file.
Okay, that makes sense.
We go, there's an interview process that we do when somebody calls us to make sure that they are homeless, what's going on with their animal. We ask them about their living situation, if they have transportation, if they are employed. A lot of our clients are employed, but yet they're still homeless.
Yeah.
To verify homelessness, we talk to social workers. Maybe it's a food bank manager, somebody at a homeless shelter that knows about this person. There's a lot of different ways that we can verify that they truly are homeless. The database tells us just oodles of information about the dog, about how they heard about us, what their living situation is. I can tell you that most of our clients are either living in their vehicles or they are living in a tent on the streets. And we've all seen those horrible pictures, San Francisco, Los Angeles, of those tents. And even here in locally in Reno, Nevada, they just put up it's called Care Campus, and it houses 500 homeless and their pets. So we're very happy to be partnered with them so that we can help if there is a problem with an illness or injury. There's a lot of other local nonprofits that are going to that campus and doing the vaccinations and the spay and neuters.
Now, do you coordinate your efforts too? Like I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are in our summer season, so we do have a fairly large size homeless population at this time. I know that Wisconsin Humane Society, for example, has some programs that they work with different social workers and things. Do you help coordinate that effort if you get a call from our community?
Oh, well, we'll absolutely try to.
Okay.
When that person is calling us, they're very anxious and they're just distraught because they don't have the resources to help their fur baby. And so, yeah, if we can't help, we will reach out to other organizations and let them know that we're here.
Okay.
So, you know, it's kind of a word of mouth that has happened over the last 13 years that people are finding out about us and they're sharing our information with other resources. So if you are a resource and would like to be on our website, please reach out to me and let me know so that I can get it on our website. Because part of our website is for the homeless to be able to find where to get pet food and if there's other resources available in that community. It's an interactive map that they can just put their location in and it will bring up where to get pet food, where if there is a homeless shelter that allows pets, and then we go through some other resources for that person. So yeah, we will be happy to work with you.
Great to know how to get more word out about individual programs and individual communities. Thank you.
What a
You
great
bet.
question. Thank you so much. Mandy, I'm going to pull you in, Mandy Evans, because I know that you had a relationship and an opportunity to do a longer interview. So if you want to plug that, and also if you have any questions or even comments, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, I am really happy to see Genevieve presenting today. We had the opportunity to chat a few months ago. Actually, we were talking and I got a call from my son that he broke his arm. So she was very kind to allow me to jump off the phone and go save him. But I'm really excited about having her on today because we can all help her and her organization become more and more impactful by providing the resources that we can provide in our communities. When you look at what she and her team are trying to accomplish, they are in one location where we are all over the country. So the more that we can provide and support her and the work they're doing, the better off and the more, I guess, collaborative and impactful we can be in this area. So thank you, Genevieve, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. If any of your rescues provide pet food to people that are either low income or homeless, let me know so that I can put that on our website as well.
Yeah, it's just on your website, Genevieve. It's really cool what you're doing. And yeah, we're here in Brattleboro. I put us in on your search. We don't show up. I'm wondering if you want to look at your website as a place for us to go in and sign up so that you're not trying to do that hard logistical piece. All our information gets in there, right? But then that map is gorgeous. And if we could populate what we're providing and where, it'd be super exciting. I think a lot of us are doing it. So it would amplify what you're doing a lot.
Great, great. I appreciate all of your help. We're in the process of redoing the website. The brand will stay the same. We're just tweaking it from 40 some pages down to 20 pages. And one of those pages, there will be a form so that pet food providers, that's what we call them, can sign up. If you would like to be a donation site as well, where the people in your community can take pet food, we'll add you as a donation site as well. So you might want to, now you can go in and fill out that form. It'll tell us the hours and who to contact. Oh, there you go. There's the map. So you can see that the blue is where people can get pet food. There's another one over there that says donation site. So there, we'd love to have more and more, because we get thousands and thousands of hits on this website. Weekly, we get just thousands. And I don't know what that number is. My executive director would know that off the top of her head, I'm sure. But we try to keep it up to date as much as possible. So please reach out to us and fill out the form or email us or use the contact tab on the website as well.
Awesome. We have time for one last question if anybody has a burning question.
Hi, Genevieve. It's Kathy Duncan. I'm with an organization in Canada. So I did post in the chat, but I've made a note of your email address and wondering if you're familiar, if there's a similar organization or program in Canada. And if not, then we got to get on it.
There is not that I am aware of, although we do have donation sites and we will treat animals in Canada. We're neighbors and we are happy to help.
Wonderful. Well, I will reach out to you by email and probably connect you with the national organization, Humane Canada.
Bobby, do you mind if I jump in really quick here?
I would love for you to jump in. Thank you.
Okay. First time here, guys. Hi. So Genevieve, I saw that you're in Carson City, so we're neighbors, which was really exciting because I don't have very many neighbors over here on the east side of the Sierra. I'm in Mono County.
Where are you located?
I'm in Mono County.
Okay, all All
Yeah,
right, that is
yeah.
close. That is.
So
Good.
I definitely like to reach out and try to, hook up with you and see how we can help. We just got in touch with DocuPet, and they are sending their 20%, the 20% revenue from the designer tags. We're having them sent over to a group called Four for Paws in Mammoth Lakes. And so they kind of do the same thing as what you're doing, which is feeding and vet care for people who are, having a hard time. And so what I was planning to do with them is I want to get bear boxes. So one bear box per shelter. So that way it's, it's weatherproof and it's animal proof. And then we have just the bare basics, kind of like that free library where you just keep it stocked with the bare basics. So people can just drive in whenever, it doesn't have to be during hours. They don't have to get onto a list or anything, and we just keep it stocked. And so that's something that we were planning to do, but I would like to reach out and see if maybe we can put your information on our website and stuff like that. And
Absolutely, absolutely. I could send you some of our cards so that people know how to reach out. So let me know your mailing address. That's what I'm going to need, so that I can mail you these cards. Great.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Look at that. First call and just jumping into the thick of things. I love it. Super excited. Well, Genevieve, it is such an honor to have you here. And we hope that you're not just here for this quick conversation. You can come and hang out with us on many more Mondays, because the whole purpose is building community and making sure we're all here to support each other. So thank you again. There's a lot of folks that asked for your email, so I'm sure your email will be getting a lot of pings, but I want to make sure that we have time to jump over to our next really important conversation about self-supported rehoming. So I'm going to introduce Lucy Fernandez, the past program coordinator for Austin Pets Alive, and I'm going to let her take it from there to introduce her star-studded cast today.
Wow, no pressure at all. That sounds pretty intense. Hi, yeah, my name's Lucy. I've been leading the supported self-rehoming group for Haas since, I don't even know, what is time anymore, really? Since I think May of last year, June, something to that effect. And I've got an amazing team that they basically do all the work. I just kind of show up and duct tape together an agenda. So and so who's going to be helping me today? Maddie, obviously with the Better Together, who also spearheaded the whole home-to-home program, which is phenomenal. If you guys aren't already using it yet, definitely be checking it out. And also April Huntsman, who's with REHOMEDAdoptAPet.com, who I think is now currently in every working group officially, all 462 of them. So she's just quite the hustler. So with supported self-rehoming, and then also with the PASS program, which stands for Positive Alternatives to Shelter Surrender, we'll be kind of going over basically how to reduce intake and save money. And I think that is on everyone's minds if you've ever worked in animal welfare ever. So we're going to start it off with Maddie, who's going to discuss the daily cost of care in the shelter, and and then we'll kind of lead in after that to other things. So go ahead, Maddie.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to just share my screen really quick. This is not a beautiful presentation. Wait, I have to figure out how to do this. All right. So I'm sure that everybody knows this, but just as a refresher. So sometimes I think that we look at that revenue line of adoption revenue, and we don't take time to really see whether or not we're actually making money on those adoptions. So this is just to help you understand. So if you look at your intake costs, and that would be how much does it cost to have a medical person review the animal, your vaccines, anything that you're looking at as cost-wise coming when an animal comes in. I included in here the cost of spaying and neutering as well. You look at your daily care costs, we're just going to say it's $30 a day, and your average length of stay is 10 days. So your total cost of care on average is about $500. But your adoption fee for a cat is $50 and your adoption fee for a dog is $100. So basically, right off the bat, you are not making any profit to help support your services in your shelter. Again, these are all made up numbers. So if you can go through and do this exercise, it will help you understand at what point do you really need to have that dog or cat moved out of your shelter in order to at least be covering your basic costs of intake. And then when you look at your rehoming program, the whole idea, I'm gonna jump on my soapbox really quick, is that I feel like our shelters forever have been valued off of the number of animals in cages. But when we look at the name animal welfare organization, we really should be focused on what is best for pets. And I don't think any of us would agree that animals being in cages is the best. So when you look at helping people rehome their pet on their own, not only are you sparing the space in your shelter to provide for animals who truly need your help, you are really lifting up the mission of animal welfare by supporting these animals in a much healthier way. So if you have around 500 dogs, cats, whatever your owner surrender intake is, and for us, I can only use our number from home to home, we see about 26% decrease in owner surrenders when organizations are using the program. So about 130 animals would never come into your facility. So when you look at your intake costs, your average length of stay, and you multiply that by the reduction, you're saving about $65,000 a year. And that money can be used to provide additional services. It might be that you are intaking other animals that really need help and you're diverting that money in a different way. So just as an overview, really taking the time to evaluate, and if you've started a program, go back and evaluate what the difference has been in your intake costs. And I think that was what you wanted, Lucy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bottom lines are always important. And, you know, keeping animals out of shelters is always important, and supporting that. It's not just like, oh, letting them loose and, you know, all that kind of stuff. We just want to make sure that, you know, the safety and the health and well-being of the animals is paramount. And also, you know, saving our sanity and our shelter space. It's sort of a win-win-win, no-brainer type of a deal. Peter, question?
Yeah, actually, two related questions maybe. So one, or question and a comment. A lot of contracts are still written. The contract holder is incentivized to bring animals across through the front door, right? So is there work going on to kind of get that sorted out to change where those incentives are? Is one question. And then the other one I had was, now it slipped completely out of my brain. I need to get more coffee. So I'll think of it and post it in the chat. But, and again, I realize the contract thing is kind of a separate, but there are definitely places where that becomes a huge problem because they're incentive. They could return a dog down the street and instead they drive them across the county to the shelter because that's how the contract incentivizes operations.
So
Yeah,
Lucy, if I could.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, and most of the contracts are based on strays. So this would be a little bit different. If there are organizations on this call today that have a contract and are incentivized by owner surrenders, I'd be really interested in talking to them if they want to put their information in the chat.
Yeah, I know that speaking for, well, not speaking for APA, I don't, you know, that's way out of my wheelhouse, but we do have a really cool program where the, you know, as a rescue, our animals come back to us, but we also have it where they basically the owner turns into a foster. And so the animal never has to be kind of like brought into our shelter unless there's medical or whatever need. And so we go ahead and do all the marketing and medical to, you know, get the animal adopted back out to a new home without, you know, having to actually like come through the shelter system or like the actual on-site space. So we do give that option. So, but yeah, something, you know, for each organization kind of has their own contracts and legal stuff. So, great. So then moving next to the So we also, in our supported self-rehoming group, we went ahead and put together a spreadsheet of all the tier 1 and tier 2 organizations that are piloting with Haas. And so we've gone ahead and screened through, see who's doing what, how they're doing, how effective, how, you know, like how much better they could be doing and things like that. So we're actually offering, in our next iteration of our offering is going to be to do consultations for each organization to make sure that, you know, great, you're doing something, but are you doing it as effectively as you could be? Are you keeping an optimal amount of animals out of the shelter? If you are using a certain service, do you have it implemented on your site in a way that's effective to your community and that kind of thing? So with that, I'm going to go over to April, who went ahead and did a nice fun audit situation because she loves numbers and audits and decks. So here she is.
That's right. I can't get enough of anytime I can put together a presentation or a bar chart. I'm pretty excited about life. So what I did, I just want to kind of give a caveat that this is a completely agnostic website audit. So I although I work for adoptapet.com and I also represent
Is April frozen for anyone else?
Yes.
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 Am I frozen, everybody?
You just got back to us. Maybe if you want to just turn off your camera while you're sharing this awesome
Okay.
deck.
Yes, you guys don't need to look at my hand movements. So I just was saying that this is so important. It's not necessarily like, oh, this is important for supported self-rehoming, but I am this kind of huge voice now for, after I did this audit, how many of you guys go to the internet when you need to find any information at all? We all do, right? You don't go to a phone book anymore. You may ask friends and family, but the first thing you do when you need something is you go do a search. And so as I go through this presentation, you're going to hear me kind of calling out why it may be so difficult for people to find supported self-rehoming and why it may be so difficult for people to find many of the services that you actually have to offer. So this audit was agnostic. It was just me looking from a 100% agnostic perspective, from a HAS perspective. I did an audit of navigation and an audit of the information on the 22 tier 1 shelters. So the first thing I looked at is the location of supported self-rehoming. So where is it located on the website? I also checked to see how many websites were mobile optimized. The great news is that all of these websites were mobile optimized. The first thing you can do is make sure your website is mobile optimized because it runs anywhere from 50 to 70% of all users that are going to come to your website are going to be on a mobile device. As far as location, 8 had it under shelter services, or pet services. 3 had it under resources, and then the remaining 9 had it all over the place. So pet support, Rehome My Pet, owner surrender programs, pet surrender, pets, programs and services, rehoming an animal, and pet assistance. So this is the first kind of challenge when somebody's trying to find information about either keeping their pet, rehoming their pet, surrendering their pet, is where do they even find it when they get to your website? The location, the navigation is also quite different. So many organizations had a top bar navigation. A few had a sidebar navigation. One had a hamburger menu. And when you guys hear hamburger menu, that's the 3 lines you normally see on a mobile device. But one organization actually had that on their desktop application, which is really confusing to users. And then 2 actually forced scrolling below the fold. And this is kind of a UI UX term, but the fold is where you see when you come to a website. And when you have to scroll below that, people are less likely to find the information for a couple of reasons. 1, because they have to scroll, and 2, not every browser can handle that scrolling bar. And so sometimes that won't even show up. So people don't even know that they can scroll. So there's this whole kind of perspective of user experience and design that we as animal welfare professionals maybe aren't taking into consideration when we build out our websites and when we build where we locate the services we provide. So the language was also across the board with no consistency of what we are calling supported self-rehoming. So you can see we've got giving up a pet, rehoming support, owner surrender, pet support, rehoming support, pet surrender, animal surrender, rehoming your pet, rehoming a pet, rehoming an animal, and then relinquishing a pet. I will say that I noticed that relinquishing, that word, that term is actually wasn't as used as much in these 22, and owner surrender wasn't used as much either. It was definitely more around pet surrender and animal surrender. As far as where these items are, 4 were in the main menu. So when you came to the page, you saw pet surrender in the main menu. 14 were in a main menu dropdown. So you had to go into a hover state. That means that you hovered over the menu and then you saw more options, and that's where you would find 14. 2 were in the second menu, which is really far away for someone to find the information. And then 2 had no mention in any menu whatsoever. I then tracked the order in which the types of support were offered. So that was also all over the place. So 7 listed out how to keep your pet, how to rehome your pet, and then how to surrender your pet. 2 listed out just keeping and then rehoming, no mention of surrender. And it could be because those organizations don't take in owner surrender. 1 only listed rehoming a pet, no mention of anything on how to keep your pet. 3 also rehome surrender, no mention of keeping your pet. 2 went straight into rehome, then keep, then surrender. 1 just went straight into surrendering, no mention of keeping or rehoming. 1 surrender and then rehome. 1 mentioned safety net programs, then rehome, then surrender, which I would consider safety net kind of the keep your pet. 2 had separate pages for surrendering and keeping. And while this is great because you can have a lot of information, when somebody finds that rehome, if you want to give them resources on how to keep the pet, you need to make sure there's a small amount of information on keeping to get them redirected. If somebody could just call out if I get frozen again. And then 2 mentioned nothing on their website. So I also tracked the services that were mentioned as well. We've got 8 mentioned spay neuter resources with 14 on additional alternate pages. 6 mentioned vaccines and microchips. 9 mentioned medical resources, which is fantastic. That was the #1 resource mentioned. 4 assistance for military deployment. 2 for domestic violence support if you're going into a shelter. 7 for pantry and pet supplies. 7 for pet friendly housing, and so on. 1 organization actually listed out rescue partners that may be able to assist with keeping their pet or other resources, which I thought was a really great idea, to not just list their own resources, but other resources available through other partners in the community. And then I just want to call out that not all other resources are created equally. So some directly offered in-house resources, while others linked out to other organizations or external content. So even though we see pet pantry and supplies, it may be that they were linking out to an exterior pantry or their own. Some link out to just PDFs, some link out to actual resources. And since I was in there looking at rehoming and keeping and surrender, I just took a look at whether or not appointments were required for owner surrender. I imagine this changed with COVID. 13 now require appointments. 1 had no appointment. 5 require an online form. 1 was email us for next steps. And then there was those 2 that didn't mention anything about surrender. And then I also looked at, were they promoting pets in the community? So 10 were promoting community pets. So 7 redirect to a home-to-home site with nothing embedded on the actual website. 2 have a rehomebyadoptpet.com iframe embedded, and 1 has a self-built embedded community pets. And only 1 organization had any resources in Spanish. I do want to call out though that the 7 that were redirecting to the home-to-home site, you could not find those community pets through the adoption menu. The only way to find those community pets was to actually click into the I need to rehome my pet, and then you could see that there were pets available for adoption. So if you are one of the organizations that are using home to home, an easy call to action that you can do this week is get that link in your adoption menu as well, so that when people are coming to your site and they're looking for pets to adopt, you're also promoting those pets, because the fastest way to get those pets adopted is to actually show the pets that are available in your community as well. And that is the end of this presentation.
Amazing. We have plenty of time for questions, folks. April, I will get it kicked off. I think this is a huge aha moment for folks. Even if they were not a part of that audit, I think it gives them a really great idea of what to look for. As far as folks looking at their websites, is there any other recommendations that you might have regarding like SEO, search engine optimization, or anything like that?
Yeah, so I would challenge each of you to go into like an incognito window and do some searching for kind of the key terms from people, whether it's related to rehoming or adoption or lost and found pets, and see what actually shows up in the search results and see where your shelter falls. And the thing about where your shelter shows up in those results is you want the page that they need to go to show up in the results. You don't want just your main shelter page, because then they have to go in and navigate through your own website as well. So you need the page that they need to get to actually show up. So if you search, for instance, I'm in Salt Lake right now, if I were to go into an incognito window, make sure my location's set as Salt Lake, and I search rehome my dog, I want to see what actually shows up in the organic search, not necessarily the paid search. So the paid search are going to be those ones that say ad above them, and then you'll start seeing those organic searches. So I would do your own testing to see what's showing up when people are searching in your area. The reason why Rehome has the number of onboards it does, 20,000 a month right now, and the reason why 80% of those onboards come directly from organic searches is because when people are searching that they need to rehome their pet, they're finding us, they're not finding you. But we want them to find you first because you may have resources to help them keep their pet. And it's because Adopt a Pet puts a lot of time and energy into making sure that we show up. So we would hope that everybody would put some resources into their own SEO. The other thing as well is just not burying information too deep. Nobody wants to dig and dig and dig to try to find. I got frustrated as somebody who was doing an audit on some of these websites because I could not find the information. And then the last thing I'll call out is just when you swap navigation. So when you go from top bar to sidebar, back to top bar, hover states, it can be very disorienting for the user. So just make sure it's so easy for people to find the information that you want them to find. And get your grandma, get your uncle to look at your website and ask them to find information. And if they can't find it, then you're in trouble. So this is something at Adopt a Pet we do all the time, is we recruit people who would potentially be in that kind of category of needing help and letting them use our website, and they'll tell us, right, forget it. I'm not even going to click further because I can't find it. So those would be some takeaways, some things you guys could do right away.
Thanks, April. Any other questions from the group? And it looks like folks are asking for you to drop your email in the chat, April. Jesse, would you like to unmute and ask your question to the group?
Sure. Hello. Sorry, I just realized I didn't have my video on either. Yeah, I don't know if this is a question, April, if you came across this, I guess, anything in your research and the websites, or if anyone else would have input, I'd welcome it. We're really looking at changing our intake process. We're just kind of starting the conversation. But basically, we have an online surrender application, and it's usually the first step that people go to in terms of surrendering at our organization. And we have about 250 applications at any one time, especially this time of year. It's overwhelming. I don't feel like it's a great system for the community. It's stressful on our staff. So we are also looking to implement some kind of home-to-home or self-rehoming option, and we had talked about making that a requirement as the first step of the intake process. So you need to post here in our home-to-home page, and then at that point you'll get some kind of surrender application where, if by the time we get to your application you haven't been able to rehome on your own, then we can work with people at that point. So I don't know if anyone else has tried anything like that, or April, if you came across anything like that in your website.
I think that's what the 7 that are promoting home to home, and the other 3, those 10 are really like, start here before you contact us. One of the things, because I see so many of those rehome onboards, is I feel like when we are trying to support people who need to rehome their pet, we need to kind of put them into classes. So if the pet is going to be really easy to rehome and doesn't require any shelter resources, get them onto a site, get your pet, rehome, home to home, get them somewhere. And even, home to home, you'll have to implement. So even between the implementation of home to home, start sending them out, because you know, kittens right now can be rehomed on their own. You know, small fluffy dogs can be rehomed on their own. And so if you can get those ones that don't require any resources, and there are thousands of adopters just waiting, then you can really focus your efforts on those ones that may need more resources and more time. And so it doesn't feel so heavy. So when you've got these 250 applications every month, if you could have a way when they're doing their form, so if you put them into some type of form where it's asking them questions, and based on those answers, it gives them the right resource, then you could really eliminate potentially half of those applications, because you're just going to send them off to a supported self-rehoming platform. And then you only have to focus on the other remaining half or remaining third. And there are so many ways to do this through like a Google form where you have skip logic and contingency answers. So based off of the answer they give, you give them the resource and cut off the survey or the form, versus allowing them to continue through the form and it actually gets to you. So that would be my recommendation, just to somebody like to start filtering the ones that truly need your help, and the ones that there's a line out the door of people who want that pet. So there's no need for you to have to give your shelter your limited resources to that pet and that person.
Thanks, April. Mandy, do you have thoughts as well?
Well, I agree with April that I think that what we tend to forget is that the community is coming to us because they need help. And when we empower them with the resources to be able to help themselves, they surprise you. So if you're able to provide them with an additional option, they will do it, more people than not. The only other way that we've seen this, and home to home, like April said, it requires shelter participation. Like there are resources at your organization that have to participate. So if you don't have those resources, absolutely using like Rehome by Adopt a Pet or Get Your Pet are wonderful, because you don't have to do the actual physical work. But what we've seen that's been really successful is that people implement home to home as part of their managed intake process. So they will create an appointment for somebody that's 2-3 weeks out and say, in the meantime, you can post your pet here. So you're actually helping people while you're also managing your intake process. And then one more comment. I know that Lucy is probably eager to go, but I worked with a shelter once that when I went on, they called about home to home. I went on their website and they literally did not mention surrendering of any form at all. And when I talked to her about it, she said, we're just overwhelmed with surrenders. They're always coming in. And I said, well, how are you telling people to do it differently? And they said, well, we don't put it on there because we don't want them. And I'm like, well, you have to tell people, you have to provide them with what you want and expect from them so that they can follow along. When you don't, you're going to end up being that end resource that might be completely depleting you.
Well, Mandy, I think that was actually a perfect transition when you talked about our community surprising us with the concept of mutual aid and supporting each other. So Lucy, I'm going to toss it over to you to talk about the amazing PASS program that you run.
Just to clarify, PASS, I do not run it. My boss runs it. I just happened to sneak my way into the program. PASS is a program out of Austin Pets Alive, and it was started, I think, 10 years ago, 8 years ago by Patty Alexander. I'm not sure if she's on today, but I sent her the link, but she's probably busy saving all the animals in Texas to be able to hop in. I'll be sharing the recording though. I'll drop this in the chat. This is basically a one-sheeter on what the PASS program is and how it works. I'll share my screen and kind of go over it with you. Just to kind of give you a brief overview. It certainly doesn't cover all of the things that happen in PASS, but basically it's just just how to keep animals out of the shelter, providing support and resources. So folks can email pass@austinpetsalive.org if they're having any issues with, they need help with supported self-rehoming, temporary foster requests, behavioral training, food supplies. And not every organization, and this applies with supported self-rehoming, but not every organization is like one size fits all. You know, obviously some people limited budgets, limited staffing and things like that. So, you know, to be able to provide this is sort of a fun opportunity that we get here at APA. Just to basically supporting diversion intake. So it's not like, oh, no, you can't take your animal to us or the city shelter. It's just, okay, what do you need in order to keep your animals? So Patty kind of put this together and provides resources and services in Texas residents who are experiencing challenges to keeping their pets, with overall goal of keeping pets out of the sheltering system and provide safe judgment-free zone for anyone in need. Judgment-free is being the key word. Obviously, a lot of folks are, you know, and I'm sure you've heard this, I'm sure some people still think this, but you know, the fear of bait dogs, the fear of the Craigslist doomsday stuff and all that other. So we try to like keep away from that. We want to educate the public. We want to support the public, and we want to keep animals safe, you know. But at the same time, you know, any that sort of fear mongering or judgment is completely shut down. People are removed from our Facebook group. There's a link down there. Anybody's welcome to join and kind of see what it looks like on the past Facebook group. It's right down here in this link. And then we have a Google Voice number where we get text messages and voicemails, and then obviously the email address down here. We track success stories, so any of the feel good moments of like, hey, this kind of worked out, and you know, this is awesome, and we, you know, kind of keep that all for our Marcom and development folks, so that, you know, we can keep the good work going. So sometimes we do pass intakes. So basically any animals that are in like dire medical need that we can just take straight away in, then we will go ahead and see what we have as far as space on site to help. But as far as, you know, okay, we can just keep the animal at home, and then provide those services, any education, templates for adoption agreements or temporary foster agreements. We rally up resources for the community, and just do lots of partnerships too. So I think Patty has the cell phone numbers of all the directors of all the 5 county shelter managers. So she gets into people's DMs and making sure that we're able to provide solutions like localized, decentralized solutions. So.
Lucy, would you mind clicking the group link so folks can sort of see what the engagement looks like?
Absolutely, for sure. So this is where I spend most, if not half of my day. So yeah, so we have rules. People sometimes read them, sometimes they don't or whatever. So yeah, so you can see Sean here is a 1.5-year-old Maltese. You basically just have to put in the, you know, all the behavioral stuff, because obviously the best advocate for an animal is the owner who's had them for X amount of time. You know, their contact information. Adoption fees are $100 or less for, you know, for their animals on here. And then, yeah, so they just gonna provide videos and stuff. Folks can go ahead and add as much information, answer questions and things like that, that public forum, which is really, really great. Let me see. So we have a fundraiser for this young lady. She found this gorgeous little pup out in, I believe, Manor. They just need basic supplies to hold on to them until either the owner steps forward or they can surrender them. I think it's in Bastrop because they just had a distemper outbreak, so they obviously cannot take surrenders. So we're just kind of like, okay, well, let's figure out a solution so this animal's not roaming around and stuff. I'm actually meeting with Elizabeth this afternoon to get her a crate and some food on site. So yeah, so these types of things, we have a lot of like MVP folks that are, you know, been in the rescue community in Austin and the 5 counties for years, like Star here, who she helps network some of the animals that are in need and stuff. So we, you know, it takes the village, and we built the village with this page, which has been really, really great.
That's amazing. So it looks like you're having some real community ambassadors show up. So I'll ask you to unshare. This is so amazing. I think my one takeaway for everyone is that the folks that are speaking on this call are a perfect example that life-saving strategies aren't mutually exclusive. You know, there are so many different things that you can use to support animals. Just make sure you're starting with 1 and 2 and 3. And when you can see the folks that are doing this at the highest level, not only working together to give presentations, but giving tips and tricks on how to better the other platforms as well. It just makes my heart so happy. So April, Mandy, Lucy, and also Genevieve, I'm so honored that y'all shared this space with us. I'm going to toss it over to Mary Smith to close us out.
All right, you guys, we just spent an hour getting so many great solutions to the things that we're dealing with every day. It couldn't have been a better way to start the week. So I hope you guys go out, be powerful, make things happen. As you do, you are great animal people. Have a good one.